Hey guys, welcome back to the video. Today we're going to be discussing the cash conversion cycle, which is a key metric scrutinised by analysts when thinking about a company's liquidity and working capital requirements. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the cash conversion cycle, like I said in the intro, is intensely scrutinised by analysts. And it is effectively quite a simple concept. It is the amount of time in days between the date at which the company makes its cash payments to its suppliers for its raw materials up until the date at which the company collects its cash from its customers. So in accounting terms, I would think about it as being defined as the time between when the accounts payable are derecognised from the balance sheet up until the point in time when the accounts receivable are derecognised. And that's just another way of saying it's the amount of time it takes for the company to pay its suppliers up until the time at which it receives cash from its sales to its customers. So yeah, it's the number of days it takes a company to convert its cash investment in inventory into cash inflows from customers, and it represents the number of days between when the cash payment for its raw materials or inventory purchases are made and when the cash is received from selling the final product. So I'll run through a timeline in a second, but that is effectively all it is. I think it's quite easy for candidates to get sort of a bit confused by the concept, but it is simply the period of time it takes for two cash payments to be made, a cash outflow to suppliers and a cash inflow from customers. And when we think about the cash conversion cycle mathematically, we would calculate it as the days of inventory held plus the days sales outstanding minus the days payables outstanding. So that is basically the number of days that the inventory is held in the storeroom for, which is DOH, plus the number of days it takes the company to collect its cash receipts from customers, less the number of days it takes the company to pay its outstanding balances to suppliers and vendors. That's how you would think about the cash conversion cycle mathematically. And then you can contrast that with the operating cycle, which is a slightly more simple formula. That is just the days of inventory held plus the days sales outstanding. So again, we'll go through a mathematical problem a bit later on in the video, but that's how you think about the two concepts mathematically. Okay, so let's look at a timeline to illustrate how the cash conversion cycle is made up of those three elements. So this is a timeline for your average business who typically starts off by receiving inventory from suppliers, in advance of paying them. So at a later date they pay cash, the cash they owe to those suppliers, and that generates a cash outflow for the business. And then it takes them a bit more time to market and then eventually sell their inventory to customers. And then at a later point, they will receive the cash that they are owed from their customers, which creates an inflow for the business. So you can see there's a bit of a gap between each of these events taking place. So this will help us illustrate the different elements and different components of the cash conversion cycle. So when we think about the inventory, the days of inventory held represents this time period. So that is the period of time between when inventory is received from suppliers physically and when it's physically sold to customers. So the amount of time that the inventory is stored within the company's storeroom is defined by the days of inventory held. And we can also quantify the days sales outstanding, which is the period of time between when the company physically sells their products to a customer up until the point in time where they receive the cash inflow from that same customer. So that is represented by the days sales outstanding. And then those two items combined create the operating cycle. So remember, the operating cycle is a combination of the days of inventory held plus the days sales outstanding. So we've got the operating cycle. So how do we bridge to the cash conversion cycle? Well, if you remember from the formula, we need to deduct the days payable outstanding, which we can represent as this period of time here. The amount of time between when the company receives its inventory from its suppliers to when it eventually pays its cash owed to its suppliers, when the cash outflow takes place. So that is the days payable outstanding, which means that the cash conversion cycle must be represented by this period of time here. Cash conversion cycle. And that is, as we defined on the previous slide, the days of inventory held plus the days sales outstanding plus the days payable outstanding. And yeah, that's bringing it all back to the first thing I said on the first slide. All the cash conversion cycle is the period of time between when the company pays cash to its suppliers for the amount it's owed to them for the inventory it's purchased, up until the point in time when it receives the cash inflow from customers for its sales. That is all the cash conversion cycle is. I hope that illustration makes it a little bit clearer in terms of a timeline perspective. But yeah, that's what a cash conversion cycle represents. Now, what makes a good cash conversion cycle for a company and what makes a less good cash conversion cycle? So companies or analysts prefer companies that have got short cash conversion cycles. So a short cash conversion cycle is seen as a positive sign for a company, and it indicates that the company is converting its cash investment in inventory into cash inflow from sales quickly and is operating efficiently. So yeah, analysts are looking to invest in companies. Analysts and investors are looking to invest in companies that have got short cash conversion cycles. That's seen as a positive thing for a business, whereas a long cash conversion cycle is seen as a negative sign for a company, as it indicates that it's struggling to convert its cash investment in inventory into cash inflows from sales quickly and is operating inefficiently. So yeah, short cash conversion cycle is a good thing. A long cash conversion cycle is not so good a thing. And then finally, we've got a question here. So a company has a days sales outstanding of 21 days, days of inventory held of 15 days, and days payable outstanding of 10 days. So we need to quantify what is the operating cycle in number of days and what is the cash conversion cycle in number of days. So we can recall our mathematical formulas from the previous slide, which stipulated that the operating cycle is equal to the days of inventory held plus the days sales outstanding. So we know that we have days of inventory held of 15 and days sales outstanding of 21. That means that the operating cycle for this business is 36 days. So that's the operating cycle. And then we need to quantify the cash conversion cycle, which is equal to the days of inventory held plus the days sales outstanding, which of course is just the operating cycle, minus the days payable outstanding, which equals 15 days plus 21 days minus 10 days for the days payable outstanding, which equals 26 days. Cool. So that's how you quantify the operating cycle and the cash conversion cycle. That could be a question you get in an exam. You could be asked to determine what's what are the characteristics of a short or positive cash conversion cycle or a longer cash conversion cycle. You could be asked to determine why a firm may have a negative cash conversion cycle, which I'll cover off in a separate video. But yeah, that's all I had for this one. Hopefully you found that informative and helpful. And yeah, any questions about the cash conversion cycle, please feel free to fire off in the comments. I'm happy to take any questions. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.